Welcome back, everybody. It is another episode of the Draft Dive Video Podcast. I'm your host, Jonah, joined by my co host, Ken, I was going to say across the country. I'm too used to that with my other buddy. Across state lines, I guess. We're
Yeah,
pretty close, but we are state apart. So,
yeah,
across state lines. So we are back, and Ken has been digging on some cornerbacks. So we're gonna take a look at the DBs, well, cornerbacks, no safeties, but we're gonna go through our top five cornerbacks for the 2021 NFL draft. Yeah, Ken, do you want to start us out with your number five?
yeah. I will. I want to just precursor a little bit. We're going to come at you with two separate sets of corners. I think with the way the NFL is changing, we've decided that the outside corner and the actual nickel or slot corner are kind of changing it up, and some guys excel in each role. But tonight we want to focus on the sexy side of the defense. A few people on the Instagram said that they wanted to hear about corners a little bit, and I've been doing a little bit of homework on a couple of them. So
You can never have enough corners in today's passing league. You need those cornerbacks.
yeah, I mean, it's probably the most important position for depth. Imagine going up against the Chiefs and only having one or two cover guys. They run you out of the building.
Yep. Sammy Watkins, well, last year, not this year,
Ooh.
but he just would have been running running by himself when he was healthy.
Yeah, and speaking of Sammy, I kind of think he'll be a good fit in Baltimore. A
Yeah.
lot of people are hating on it, but he's a veteran. He'll play his role if he's healthy, and he can actually block downfield. And him and Hollywood cross routes and whatnot, they could both take one to the house on a 5 yard route. So can't sleep
Yeah.
on them anymore.
Plus Lamar's got a cannon. I mean, he's underrated as a passer.
I've always wondered if he could actually throw the ball as far as he can and run downfield and catch
Whew, man. Good question.
it. So we'll get into top five. I started off my top five with a Pac-12 guy, Paulson Adebo out of Stanford, and I feel like a lot of people are really sleeping on him right now. He sat out the 2020 season for COVID reasons, um, but before the season started, in scouting circles and analyst circles, he was a late first rounder, projected first round pick. He was definitely not going to be there after the beginning half of the second. The guy is 6'1", 190 pounds. He plays physical. He plays at Stanford, where they produced some pretty good players out of there. He had 4 interceptions in 2018 and 2019. So this guy's got ball skills. He's got really good instincts, and that's one of the things I noticed about him a lot. And a lot of people say he's kind of stiff, but really, I see some pretty fluid hips on him. But I really think the only downside to this guy is the fact that he sat out this year, so people are asking some questions. But when I focus on that note, a lot of corners sat out this year, so I don't see how they climbed sitting at home and he fell. It just makes no sense, and I think this goes back to one of those cases where people are sleeping on a guy because he's just not the hot topic,
Yeah.
but some team can get a steal for him. I do believe he's more of a zone corner. I know the league is more and more zone every year, but I could really see him excel in that three deep quarters look and just hold one side of the field down. Like the Niners system runs there, and maybe plug and play him with a team like that.
Yeah. Definitely decent pick. Two very good years of play at Stanford. Pac-12 football is major conference football, obviously. Maybe it doesn't get as much love as, say, the SEC, but there's still plenty of good football being played in the Pac-12, so 2 good years there. He was a playmaker. He's not on my list, but, yeah, 4 picks each year. He had 4 touchdowns the last year he played, too. Uh, he was a former wide receiver. Yeah, he's I mean, really good coverage cornerback. Like you said, probably a zone, but a guy, former receiver is always nice. You know how to play the ball a lot better than a lot of corners do. Try and high spot it like a receiver would instead of
Yeah,
just going for it. So no, I think He's a solid cover corner. I like his tackling isn't the best, but I I don't worry about tackling as much with my corners. I mean, I want them obviously to be able to get their hands on the guy, but it's a lot more important that you can cover someone than you can lay a hit on them.
Yeah, I think when we look at the college corners and you watch the game tape of them in college, it's pretty common that we see a lot of guys go early in the draft that aren't the best tacklers of the position, but they get taught a little better. It just keeps being pounded into them, and they get a little better at it. But I just feel like very few of the guys in college at corner are tackling like Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of give and take there a little bit. Being in his own system, it takes a little bit of the pressure off if he does play in that system, because then he's kind of just containing the edge, playing outside the numbers, and there's usually somebody that can help. You just got to slow him down for a second. But yeah, he could improve there, and I do agree that's one of the areas that you'd say is a weakness.
Yeah. So my number 5 guy, it was kind of tough if I put him at outside corner or slot because I think he can play either. He has the size to play outside, so I think he might play outside, but he did play in the slot in college as well. So where do I put him? I guess outside corner. Javon Holland out of Oregon. He is my corner, my number 5 cornerback. He's 6'1", so he's got this. He's not a 5'9", 5'10" corner who would be better fit for the slot. Again, he just played in the slot and played well in the slot in college, played well outside in college. So I like that he's got some versatility as well. He had 2 very strong years of college ball before he sat out this past year as well. Um, you wouldn't know it from this past year, but if you can get your memory all the way back to 2 years ago, even though it seems like a decade ago, 2 years ago, Oregon had a dominating defense. I mean, they were a defensive powerhouse, and they have a lot of really strong guys in the secondary. Holland is their best corner. He's number 5 because he sat out this year. If he played this year and had another good year, I honestly think he might be in that. I think he'd be in the first round discussion. I think now he goes in the second round. 5 interceptions in 18, 4 interceptions in 2019. He had 2 touchdowns each year as well, so he's a playmaker. Yeah, he's just he's a smart cornerback, plays well. He's a good tackler as a cornerback. He's not the world's greatest athlete, but he's a very smart, good cover corner. I mean, he knows how to cover guys. And again, Pac-12 football, you're going up against a lot of NFL wide receivers in the Pac-12. So he shut him down, and yeah, I think Holland is a good play. It's just whether to put him in, I guess, outside or slot.
Yeah, see, and I look at him and I actually see more of a safety slot. But I definitely am not sleeping on his talent. Like you said, the playmaking ability, guys that can get the ball back for your offense, they are not as common as people make them out to be. Not every guy is a Marcus Peters and puts up 30 picks in his first 5 years or whatever that crazy stat is for him right now.
Yeah.
And Holland can get that ball, and that's something that needs to be paid attention to. I mean, I want a player on my defense that can go out there and make a play. They can take over in a clutch situation. And Holland has that intangible. And I also think I see him show up in times of need pretty often. We were talking about tackling, and because he has some time, all over the place and a little bit of time in safety, he is a more solid tackler, obviously, than Adebo is. And I think he's somebody that I was really looking at. And I say this, I don't want people to get mad and think that I'm making a comparison saying this is his pro comp, but I see Tyrann Mathieu and the way he plays. And I could see him landing on a team where he kind of plays that role.
Yeah.
He can tackle, he can play the corner, he can line up outside, and he can play free safety. He can kind of roam. And so I kind of see him more as a all-around versatile defensive back in that role. But yeah,
he did play some safety as well in college too. So yeah,
can't sleep on this kid at all.
He can play pretty much anywhere, I guess. Yeah, list him. He's listed as a cornerback, so we'll list him as a cornerback. But he's a good defensive back.
Yeah, he's solid. I think I think if I remember right, last year when we first started reading into this coming season, he was another one of those guys that if he didn't sit out this year, I don't think we'd be talking about any safeties other than him and Mooring at the top of the draft. And for
Yeah.
me, I mean, I just like in my mind, I'm so calling him safety, but no matter what it is, if you're going to call him a versatile playmaker on defense, a corner, whatnot, he was up there in that first, second round conversation before he sat out too. And this season, I just don't get how all these guys can decide to take a year off and drop. And it would only make sense to me if they're getting surpassed by people who played and got better. But when I
Yeah.
see people surpassing them that took the year off too, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know why I mean, again, I still expect him to go in the second. I guess it's possible he could slip into the third. Um, I think if you get him in the third, you're getting a real nice steal there. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, first round talent, and again, yeah, I mean, 2 great years of college ball.
It's the hatred of the Pac-12.
I know, West Coast bias.
Yeah. So who do you have at four, Jonah?
Let's see, at four. Yes, I have Asante Samuel Jr.
We are gonna start talking about pedigree.
I love my genetics. I love my pedigree. It matters more to me than it does to pretty much anyone else, and I get that. But hey, that's me, I guess. I genetics, they exist. They're a thing. They're important. And
100%.
yeah, it's not just. I mean, obviously having your father be able to like coach you, get the mental game, but also your half your genetics are the same as a great NFL cornerback. I like it.
And a great cornerback, like emphasis on one of the better cornerbacks that we've seen over the last 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. And so, he played 3 years. He played this year as well. He has 3 very good years of college ball under him at Florida State. Um, Actually had his best season this year. Had 3 picks. He's 5'10", so maybe the height is a little bit of an issue or scares some people off. But again, I don't know, 5'10" is fine size for corner. I think that's actually I pay a lot of attention to Mike Zimmer because he can build the defense and he likes his corners at 5'10" or bigger. So, if it's good enough for Mike Zimmer, it's tall enough for me. Yeah, he's a really good all around corner too. His run defense is really good as well as being strong in coverage. Yeah, I think I said 3 picks this year. He had 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns the year before, and he had 6 touchdowns in 2018. So he is also a playmaker, that what a game-changing play, I guess. And, quarterback passer rating against him this year, 46.2. So he's shutting guys down. Uh, I mean, yeah, that's so I think Asante Samuel's pretty good. I know that these guys can get a little moved around in here, and you might have someone different, but I'm a fan of Asante, and I think he's a good late first rounder.
Yeah, I think he's a solid player. I think he checks most of the boxes. We talked about pedigree. You talked about it, I guess. I'm really big on that as well. And this year, especially at this position, there's a lot of it. Um, and you can't sell it short. I mean, I think just this morning I was actually talking to somebody else about Antoine Winfield,
Mm-hmm.
and Antoine Winfield Jr. last year for the Bucks coming in a little bit later and just playing lights out. I mean, the guy really exceeded expectations, and his dad was a phenomenal corner in the NFL, and
He
his dad
sure
was a corner who
was.
could tackle, and his son is basically him at safety.
Yeah.
And I don't see how people can't look at that and say that. The other thing that I think about the pedigree is these kids grew up around the NFL. They know what to expect already. They're not going to come in the league as a rookie and be wowed by everything because they grew up with it. And I think that makes them professionals from day one. I think it makes them leaders in the locker room. It makes them able to handle the bright lights a little sooner. And so for me, that's a guy that can step in, and I really like him. The height's not an issue for me either. I probably put him in the slot more so, but it doesn't mean he can't play outside. Where some guys, when you put him in the slot, it's like you're slot or bust. Samuel could play either or, but I kind of more intrigued to see how he handles the slot or plays there. That being said, I mean, I have zero problem putting him outside and letting him line up against a receiver and go man to man and do his thing, even in the red zone against a taller receiver. But I don't want him to play 60 snaps lined up from Julio Jones.
Yeah.
But not saying that maybe 3 years down the road he hasn't evolved more, but just starting off today, that's what I.
Yeah. Fair enough. Who's at your number 4, Ken?
Well, I think we're going to stay on the pedigree, and we're going to talk about Jaycee Horn,
Right.
son of ex-Saints wide receiver Joe Horn. And just once again, NFL talent is blood. And I think a lot of people are higher on him than I am. And honestly, I was. I mean, when we originally talked to each other about our top 5, he was a little higher for me. But I got to be honest, one game in particular, I was really watched the film on Elijah Moore, the receiver from Ole Miss. And I felt like he is supposedly an undersized receiver who beat Horn at the line and press repetitively, got open. He put up a killer stat line against Jaycee Horn almost dominantly. And if I'm talking about a guy going in the top 15, I think that he should be able to press a guy that's smaller than him or whatnot. And so he just fell for me a little bit. I mean, he's 6'1", 205 pounds. He's strong. I don't think he has the ball instincts that some of the other guys have. Well, let's take that back. He has the ball instincts. He doesn't have the hands some of the other guys have.
Didn't get Jay Horn's hands.
Yeah, he's got no interceptions. But I think he had 23, 24 passes defensed in 2 years. And 3 years, 2.5, we'll call it, 2 1/3. That's a pretty good PD stat right there. So he makes the play on the ball. But at the same time, I mean, I like a corner who can take the ball away now and then. So for me, he just fell just a little bit. But that being said, I still think he's a first-round talent. And once again, he chose to sat out a little way through the year. And so I think he got a bump for a little bit for playing just a little more than some of the other guys. But he did choose to sit out. But yeah, I'm just going to stick with the pedigree, 23 PDs, and he's got the size. He's not afraid to tackle. He will come up even in like the swing passes, the screen passes, and pretty decent hit on a running back from time to time. Not the type that you would expect to see out of a corner.
Yeah. So Horn is actually my number 3 guy, so I might as well talk about him.
That is a built-in transition.
I know, so easy. He is, yeah, I mean, I already talked about my love of genetics, and I probably will 50 more times, especially during this position. But yeah, Jaycee Horn, good genetics. I actually had him down as having 2 picks this year. So I'm not sure, but
you might be right. I'm going off. I'm sorry, I didn't put his stats in for this year.
It's all right. And so, yeah, he actually, there was the completion percentage against him was 33 1/3. So only 1 out of 3 times you throw at him are you getting a completion, 54.9 passer rating. So a good cover guy. He's got that size, 6'1", 205, and he's got the experience and comfort being a man-to-man corner, which I know more teams are going zone, but if you can, I like a man-to-man corner. I mean, I think that shows you can hang, I guess, with the top receivers. So, yeah, trying to get something you might not have talked about here. Let me see.
All I talked about was pedigree and pass defenses.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's again, for my cornerbacks, I want you to be able to defend the pass. Hey, if you're good against the run, fine, but you got to cover. And yeah, he's big guy. He might struggle a little as a rookie. I do have him basically. 3 and 4 were very close, so kind of a late first round grade on him. I don't know. Maybe he goes in the top 15 if teams are really looking for cornerback help, but I kind of think there's 2 guys in the top 15, and the rest are kind of in that late first, early to mid second range. So but he's a he's a good man corner. He can, yeah, got the size to press and the confidence, the swagger to do that and defends the pass well. So what else do you want out of a corner, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I want to emphasize I have no hatred for the guy whatsoever, just love. I just
Oh
had
yeah.
somebody that kind of slipped above him recently, or else he was number three on mine, and I still see why a lot of people see him there. I do think between him and my number three, he's definitely capable in the press and just doing a few things that other guys can't. And he's scrappy too, and I like that. And he's got an edge to him, and an edge is very important for me. I like corners with attitude and personality and swagger, and he is not lacking any of that. So I'm really looking forward to watching him play wherever he plays. And yeah, I think he can fit man or zone. He'd be a good pick for a team that kind of splits it down the middle. There's only a few left out there, but he can do either or. But I did recently have him leapfrogged uh, by Georgia corner Eric Stokes. And Stokes has been climbing a few boards recently because he put a blazing fast 40 time up of 4.25.
Yeah.
And that is, something in its own. And I remember reading a few articles by specific team scouting personnel people who said he was non-athletic and lacked burst. And I couldn't help but laugh when I thought about those articles recently after his 40 time. And I went and watched more and more film on him and actually did a write-up of him recently for the website, put it up there at Draft Dive. And I realized that one of the reasons I'd missed him is because you don't see him very often. When you're watching film, I know you can agree, Jonah, like there's somebody that stands out to you. Like you'll watch a game and somebody's in the middle of a play, they're in the middle of a play. They stand out over and over. Well, he doesn't stand out because the other team avoids him. This last year alone, he only had 28 targets.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the guy's seeing less than what, there's 3 passes a game on average. That blows my mind. You know what I mean? Like they're not even throwing out 3 times a game. And supposedly his counterpart there, Tyson Campbell, is the higher rated corner. So why are they throwing at Campbell more than Stokes? But this guy runs a 4.25. I never see him get beat. He can run stride for stride with any receiver. I mean, this is the kind of guy that you would want to have when you play Tyreek Hill, when you play Hollywood Brown. Like he can actually run with them. And there's not many corners that run as fast as the fastest receivers. Well, he
Yeah.
checks that box for me. He had 4 picks each year, so the guy can make plays. He's very instinctive. I see a couple games, especially where he's in man, but he realizes that player is out of the play, and he drops down and makes a really great play, makes a pick or a tackle on a running back on a swing pass or whatnot. He plays well. Once again, 28 targets. He only gave up 16 catches, 55%, 57% completion percentage. I don't ever see him get beat downfield, so I couldn't find the stat exactly, but he's got to give up only short passes. So the yardage can't be big. He does get a little grabby with his hands at times, but I think he'll clean that up. And I love the way that he forces receivers to the sideline on fades and streaks. I'm not really finding any holes other than the fact that he is slender. He needs to put on 15 pounds of muscle to be able to tackle better, but I'm afraid he'll lose his speed. So like you said earlier, I want a corner that can take the receiver away. I'll let my linebackers and safeties tackle.
Yeah.
He's
And
willing to tackle. He's just not going to hurt anybody.
yeah, I'll look up a little advanced stats because actually Eric Stokes, he was real close. Uh I was like, should I put him in at 5 or should I keep Javon Holland? So very good cornerback, very underrated.
Oh
So
man, I couldn't believe it when I actually went back and watched the film. I was like, why am I not talking about this guy more? And he wasn't in my top 5 at all up until 3 or 4 days ago
yeah, and so he gave up 145 yards this year.
on
So
16 catches.
16 catches, yeah, so not even 10 per catch. He's not giving up anything behind him. I mean, yeah, actually, all of his years. Let's see, the year before was 37 for 356, and then 10 for 113.
You
So
know,
he's not giving up more than 10 yards a catch if someone does get the ball.
yeah, and one of the things that I always look for, and I hate to say this, but I really like to watch the game film when they're playing the top teams. And when they played Alabama, it even seemed like Alabama was avoiding him. Campbell gets beat pretty badly a few times. They targeted him once in the red zone, and there's a pass interference called on him that I don't want to sit here and say the refs are to blame for everything, but I don't know how it was a PI. He just forced him to the sideline, and Smith was out of play. But it, I fell in love with him when I went back and rewatched, and I watched every snap from this last season.
Yeah, no, he's someone I'm really excited about. I think people are guessing he's going to be a third to fourth rounder. It definitely seems like he has at least second round skill, to first round skill. So we'll you got a good find there, Ken.
Yeah, I
And
think
I
I think
mean,
people are.
you found him before the 4.2540, right?
Yeah, I was looking at him, but then that really made me go, I need to go watch some more. And it just solidified it for me because what happened was I was high on him, but then that 4.2540 people started talking about him more, and now you're hearing about him in the second round maybe. And I was like, well, I
Yeah.
need to go write this guy up and talk about everything else because he's more than just speed. He really is a really great cover corner. And I mean, you can tell when I get excited about a guy, I kind of can ramble on and talk about him, but I don't see holes in his game outside of just the slenderness and like I said, slight grabbiness downfield. But I do like him, and I love him. To be able to line up man to man with those speed receivers, I think a good fit for him would be somebody like the Titans. Maybe I'm not a Falcons fan, but he'd be a good fit in the Falcons system. They run man 45, 48% of the time, so I like him on one of those squads.
Yeah. No, I could see it. I mean, it's interesting. I write about the Titans, and so it's kind of I've been involved in their draft process well for a few years now, at least from a writing standpoint. So they need a corner and they need a receiver. It'll be interesting, but it's kind of like they need playmaker and they need a corner. So we'll see. That's probably 1-2. Are they going to go
Yeah,
corner receiver or receiver corner?
if they could get him in the second round, it'd be a really
Yeah.
good team fit. I think I wrote up in the article that if I were the Cardinals, I would be sprinting to the podium for Stokes if he's there in the second round. If they don't go corner in round one,
Yeah. I could
it'd be a great
actually,
fit there.
if we are going to talk about team fits a little more, I'll jump back. The Cardinals really like they like their Swiss Army knife people. And so I could see them maybe looking at Holland in the second too, because they like moving guys around a lot. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, my number two cornerback, I'm gonna guess we have the same top two, probably in the same order, but it might be different. Caleb Farley. Um, you know, what can you say? He didn't. Again, I guess let's nitpick a little. He didn't play last year, which I don't blame anyone for sitting out last year at all. But didn't play last year. But in 2019, he dominated people. I mean, he beat the piss out of opposing teams. 26.8 passer rating against him. I mean, you don't throw against Caleb Farley if you're playing against him. Yeah, Virginia Tech, I mean, a good conference. Yeah, maybe could have got it a little higher. Yeah, but I'm again trying to nitpick a little bit here because he's just an excellent cover corner. I mean, I don't see. I guess he could get out of the top 10. I think both the guys are top 10. Should be top 10 picks, maybe top 15. But I mean, Farley's just a shutdown corner. He's 6'2", 207, got the size, got the athleticism, got the speed. He's got good recovery speed. So a guy will look like he's got him. He recovers very well. He's got that catch up speed. Had 6 interceptions in his 2 years of playing. Ah, again, I don't know. Maybe he's more of a zone than a man cover guy, which isn't a huge slight against him, considering most teams run zone, but I like man a little better, just again. But I mean, the guy's a stud.
uh, you know, I can talk about this guy for hours. Uh, it's hard for me not to have him as my number one.
Yeah.
And I think most people at this point kind of know who we have as our number ones. This is my number two as well. and we can get back to what we've spoken about on our other podcasts, is I kind of like a little bit of the safety where, like, if I'm drafting the first round, I want to know something. And with Farley, I know he's going to pan out. I just don't know how good he's going to be.
Yeah, he's going to be a good cornerback. Will he be great?
He might be
Will
phenomenal.
he be great? He could be, but high floor, I guess, is the term.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And when I look at his ceiling, he might be the one guy that I'm really, really willing to reach on with my mentality even, because the potential ceiling on this guy, I mean, the potential ceiling for me is Deion Sanders high. You know, you talked about maybe being more of a zone, more of a man. I think he can play either one of them really well, but I think he'd be even better in man than Stokes. He was just clocked at a 4.28 the other day.
I mean, I know he's got the athleticism. Yeah.
Yeah, and this guy, another guy, he played wide receiver.
He just didn't play much man. He played more zone, I guess.
Yeah, scheme-wise. He's what? He's 6'2", 210 pounds.
Yeah.
He sat out a year, so there's a little knock on him there, but just enough that we're only talking about in the top 15.
Yeah, exactly.
And like he's an ex-wide receiver. 6 interceptions and 19 passes defended in his 2 years. And it's important that we go back and mention ex-wide receiver, because up until just 3 years ago when he switched to corner, he's never played the position. And statistically, he's the best corner in college football. And he doesn't even know what he's doing yet.
Like, a lot of room to grow.
Yeah. There is phenomenal. I mean, if he figures this out with his physical ability plus his size, he could literally just be an invisibility cloak for one side of the field for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. I've seen him dropping a little in mock drafts, which there's just obviously there's no reason for. I can't tell you why. I don't know what other mock drafters are thinking, but he seems to be trending down a little, at least in the online mock drafts. But
yeah, I'm lost.
You get him after 10. I think you're doing great.
You know, originally when we talked about
if you get him in the 10, you're doing great too.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be happy if he went 5.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if he went 5. He's that good to me.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss. You talk about the online mocks, and he is falling. You're right. And I don't know why. I'm not a Cardinals fan, but I'm kind of on a Cardinals kick lately, I guess. And I noted that the Cardinals would be a fan for Stokes in the second round. And I even wrote, only if they don't take Farley in the first. Because he's the only corner I really like for them. For scheme fit, coaching fit, personalities. It's all a big deal to me. And I spend a lot of time on that little stuff. And I think he's a good fit there. I don't like Surtain as much to Arizona or Horn or Debo, just because they don't play as much man in my eyes. So I wouldn't take those guys if I'm Arizona. But if he's there when Arizona picks and they don't take him, I'm going to really question whoever's running their draft room.
Yep. Yeah, well, I guess we'll get into number 1, which I'm guessing is the same for both of us, unless you got a real weird list.
I'm going to bring up Chris Wilcox from BYU at number 1 because he ran a really fast 40, and I got to talk to him a little bit the other day. But other than that,
there you go. So Patrick Surtain, the second. I mean, it was tough between him and Farley. I honestly just said, well, Surtain, his dad, so I'll give him that little bit of a bump above Farley. He has had also 3 great years of college football, so that's always nice to see. Especially Alabama, of course, playing top tier teams. But yeah, I mean, a shutdown corner for 3 years. What do you say about him? 6'2", 200, a little over 200 pounds, great size, great athleticism. Big time recruit coming out of high school. Plays the run almost as well as he plays the pass, and he plays the pass really well. So he also plays the run really well. I get, we talked about high floor for Farley. I don't see how again, how Surtain isn't at worst a good corner for the next decade. You know, how is he not just strong? I don't know. But yeah, very smart. Started as a true freshman at Alabama. That's
That's no small feat.
that is something very impressive. Um, Again, yeah, I don't know to try and nitpick what I should have had this. I'm sorry. Do you know what his 40 time was?
Mid 4.4s. He ran a lot faster than was anticipated. I believe it was a 4.44.
Yeah, that
Um,
I think that was kind of the one possible question mark was maybe his straight line speed. 444 is plenty fast, obviously.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, hey, not everyone's gonna run in the 4.2s. They're
yeah.
in the
Not everybody's as
4.3s.
fast as we are.
Yeah, no, God blesses, and here we are. But
Hey,
yeah, he's a, I mean, he's a stud. 43% completion percentage against him. Again, even so, as a true freshman, which of would you would expect it was his worst year. There was a passer rating of 72.7 against him. He's still, I mean, as a freshman going up against the top teams in the country, he's still playing pretty well, and he's just kept getting better and better until he had one of the best, corner seasons really ever, just from a pass defense. But he's also, again, very strong against the run too. So maybe I should talk about more because everyone will talk about how great he is against the pass, but also a very strong run defender. So just an all around excellent cornerback with so many quarterbacks going early, minimum of three in the first three picks. So maybe he doesn't make top five, but his talent is top five.
I love this guy as well. Like him and Farley, we could both probably agree they're more like 1 and 1A for us.
Yeah.
The separation for me is something you alluded to a few times there was his run game ability. You are not concerned about him missing a tackle.
No.
He can play. There's even been some talk from some people saying he's more of a safety type player because they thought he was slower. And I get really sick and tired of hearing, oh, what's his 40 time going to be? Well, if he can play fast on film, he can play fast.
Yeah.
And game speed and 40 speed are not the same. Some guys can go run a 4.25 40, but run a 4.5 game speed when you put 10 pounds of pads on him. And he plays to his speed. So I'd rather see a 4.4 on the 40 time and a 4.4 on the field than a 4.3 with a 4.45 on the field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He can tackle really well. He makes plays on the ball as well. He has 25, 26 passes defended. And I don't think enough credit is given to the fact that you said he started at Alabama in the SEC as a true freshman.
Yeah, I mean,
We're talking
you're
about the
half your
perennial
team,
powerhouse.
half your team's 5 stars, the other half are 4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, 5 stars transfer out of there because they don't find playing time.
Yeah.
And this kid finds playing time as a true freshman, not just a little bit, but played. He has gone up against the likes of, we'll talk about, like we are talking about talent. I mean, this year alone, they faced Ole Miss with somebody like Elijah Moore, who could be a first rounder. He's lined up against LSU, right? Who has thrown us Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall. I mean, we could go on the list of wide receivers this guy has had to man up across. As a sophomore, would it be as a sophomore or as a freshman? He had to man up against DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. Like,
Yeah.
for me, two of the best wide receivers in the NFL today. I mean,
Yep.
who has this kid not had to face? What has he not done, or what else does he have to do to prove his worth? The only knock on him was his speed, and yeah, he gets get beat deep a couple times on the field. But I'm going to go back to scheme fit for him. And before the Niners traded up, I know we had mocked him to the Niners at 12, and I thought that was just a marriage made in heaven. Um, and now I'm seeing a lot of teams talk about him going, or a lot of people saying he's going to Dallas at 10. And it's a good fit, but I think I really want to see him somewhere that runs traditionally a three deep quarters defense like the Niners do, or maybe the Jets. But he's not going to fall to the Jets at the back end of the first.
Yeah.
But one of those systems where I think he could just be phenomenal. And once again, the other thing that separated him from Farley for me is the pedigree. I mean, his dad did in the NFL very successfully for a lot of years. I remember watching when I was a little kid. My uncle was a Dolphins fan, so I saw a lot of Dolphins football when I was little. But once again, he knows how to be a professional. This guy, I think, is going to be the guy that steps in the locker room as a rookie and says, listen to me, follow my lead, even to corners who've been in the league for a year or two. And they'll want to listen to him because you might have a corner on a team somewhere that's been in the league for a year or two, but he might have come out of a smaller school or never played. And Surtain has already matched up against some of the greatest talent in the NFL and going into the NFL. So you can already pick his brain and find out what he knows. I can't remember the last time I saw a rookie that I say, what do you already know? What can you teach me at corner? And honestly, Okudah went really high last year. And I would take both of our top two this year over Okudah right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still think Okudah develops well. I
concur.
But
now, I would take
right
them.
Now, yeah.
I would call them 1A, 1A, and 1B, 1C, or whatever last year. But right now, just after his rookie year and that system, and honestly, horrible coaching in Detroit.
Well,
but
it's Detroit.
I would take them both over him at this very minute.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Gosh, where, Detroit probably not. Gosh, where can he fit in? I mean, really.
I really thought Denver as well before they signed all the free agents.
If a quarterback doesn't fall to Carolina, maybe they just say, "Gosh, I mean, you're pretty much hoping for one guy." I guess we haven't done. Have we done official quarterback rankings? We have, haven't we?
Yeah, we did them. They've changed a little bit, but hey.
Yeah, but I mean, really at that point, I think you're just hoping for Trey Lance if you're the Panthers, and if Trey Lance ends up going to someone before, maybe you say, I don't want to use a top 10 pick on Mac Jones.
Maybe, you know where I stand there on that guy. I just love him. I know not everybody's on the same boat as me, but so I really have found myself silently joining the Panthers parade. I just really like the young team they're building. I like Matt Rule and what he's doing.
I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot and still think he can start in the league. And I get you want to have your own guy that you develop, and he's your guy, and he has a potential to be a superstar. But Bridgewater's a good quarterback. Will he ever great? No. But
I like Carolina and the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. If they get him, that'd be amazing. And then we're not talking about who they're drafting. We're talking about who the Texans are drafting. And the Texans have needs everywhere. So that wouldn't really matter. But
they'll certainly have needs at quarterback if they get rid of Watson.
If Carolina's their picky and they don't go quarterback, I think corner is a good fit for them, but I don't think they'll take a corner. A corner doesn't serve, in my opinion, the way they're building their team and Matt Rule and his staff, they don't put a high price on the corner position. So I could see them not taking one, not because they don't deserve to be taken, but just because they view that position as a little less valuable. And they do have guys like Dante Jackson already, who's a speedster, and Troy Pride, who I think will step up and play a little better.
Yeah, Denver is another definite possibility there. I think it's either corner or O tackle for him. So
yeah, and Bulls really stepped it up last year. And you're right. You're 100% right. But they just signed Darby and Fuller. But if Fuller is only on a 1-year contract, they could keep him, bringing a Surtain. And I really like Surtain to Denver pre the corner signings.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's a talent heavy top of the draft because you've got 3 quarterbacks going the first 3 picks. I guess you could argue maybe swapping out one for the other, but there's going to be 3 quarterbacks taken 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 picks gone already, and then you have 3 stud wide receivers. You have a couple stud cornerbacks. You've got, there's a lot of heavy talent for guys that are outside of that top the top three picks. And if you're drafting early, you usually need a quarterback. But I mean, since he's obviously set at
Yeah.
quarterback, so I think maybe I'm the only one. The Dolphins are fine at quarterback. I think Tua played well enough. You don't give up on a guy after half a season of his rookie
I
year.
am not on the
Maybe
Tua
I'm
bandwagon.
crazy.
I am not on his, but trading back, I don't see him drafting.
You got to give him more time. I mean,
Yeah.
You can't. Again, what was he? Was he 3 or 5 last year?
Actually, here I got it pulled up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was 3. My mind.
I thought it was 3.
No, he was 5. He was 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, Detroit took Okudah at 3.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't give up on the number 5 pick at quarterback after half a year. I don't.
And I think Miami showed their hand by trading back. They're not going quarterback. They traded back and traded back up for a playmaker, I believe.
Yeah.
If they were going quarterback, they would have kept 3.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So they don't need one. But like you said, they're probably going to get They're probably getting one of those 3 receivers. So they're probably looking that way instead of corner or Pitts, who's basically a receiver, but is technically a tight end.
He physically is Calvin Johnson. He's as big. He's fast. I am really intrigued to see where he goes and how they use him.
Yeah, he's going somewhere pretty early, and so
there's even talk about, is he going at 3 to the Niners? No, I don't think the Niners traded the farm for a tight end, but there's still people wondering. That's how good this kid is.
Yeah,
young man. I call him kids. I feel bad.
Yeah, we're getting old. It's okay. I mean, number 4, Atlanta. Who knows?
Yeah, I look at this draft that we're about ready to watch, and I look at last year's, and I think we have a better top 2025 this year than we did last
year. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's talent going in. Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, especially with so many people sitting out, that's apparently dropping them down. I think the second round becomes as interesting as it's been in a long, long time, because you're getting guys like, this guy should have gone in the first round, but decided not to play because of COVID. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have a deep draft.
Did he stop playing, learning, or forget how to play football?
Did his talent just fall out of his body? I mean, I think I even said, did this guy's talent get sucked out of his soul? Like his soul gets sucked out like slept or something? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm lost as to why people are hating on guys that just didn't play.
Yeah,
I see a lot more starters and future starters in this draft than the last couple. That being said, I'm a Colts fan. I mean, we know that you're a Vikings fan. I'm a big Colts fan. And I'm adamant about the way Chris Ballard runs his drafts. And I'm happy about it because I've been adamant about it for years and years. And now the Colts have somebody who does it. Where when I look at a draft, if I say these guys, there's 32 picks. But if there's only 20 of them that should go in the first round, I'm tired of the other 12 guys getting a first round grade. I don't need to spend our first round pick. Let's trade back like Ballard does all the time and stock up a first rounder for next year. Well,
yeah, this or is the pick kind up of a couple seconds this year and get 2 starters,
Yeah, and this year's one of those years where I feel like you're getting a first rounder pretty deep into the first round. Maybe we fall short on a few guys going to the back of the first round, in my opinion, who aren't first round talents because they're going for positional need or whatnot with certain rosters. But I think that there's some first round talents going in the second round this year, like you said.
Yeah. There's absolutely guys with a ton of potential who will probably be in the second round. I think Edge is super heavy at ton of potential, but some question marks basically for everyone at the edge position. And some of those guys are going to fall. This year. Yeah, but there's a lot of guys. Man, this guy could be a star. He could be. He's got the physical attributes. Can he put it all together? There's a few of those guys, and I think some of them slip into the second. So, yeah, very interesting.
I think one of those guys is somebody you're pretty high on, Ojulari out of Georgia. And when I was watching all that Stokes film, he really stood out to me. I know he's a little undersized, but man, his bend on the edge and his explosiveness. And I keep seeing him drop a little bit, and he could land on a 3-4 defense as an outside linebacker and be one of the better pass rushers early on. Even though he's a little shorter, his heart and his game, his bend, his flex is it's all there. And I agree. Like a guy like that, top of the second round, and you snag him, well, you
Yeah,
just got one of the better pass rushers in this draft.
exactly. So yeah, it's going to be something this year.
We were talking about corners tonight, and I'm looking at last year's draft, and I just want to make a recap. Last year, the Lions took Okudah at 3.
Hmm.
The Jaguars took Henderson at 9. So that's 2 corners in the top 10, and I'd say Henderson vastly outplayed Okudah last year. They took Atlanta took AJ Terrell at 16. The Raiders took Damon Arnett at 19. And then at the back end of the first, we saw Noah. Ooh, I'm not even going to butcher his name. Igbenogany or whatever.
Yeah,
To the Dolphins. And then Jeff Gladney to Minnesota. So that's 6 corners in the first round last year. I think that I rate the corner class this year higher than last year's.
yeah, I'd agree. I liked Gladney a lot, and I think he started to develop. Now I know, Minnesota guy, but that means I literally watched every single game and every single snap that Gladney played this past year as a pro. So I do feel I have a decent insight into his game. But I I liked him as a little undersized but good corner who, if he was 2 inches shorter, would have been in talk for, top corner in the draft. And I like those kind of guys. But
I like him too.
I do think it sure seems like there's more talent this year in corner than last year to me. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is that it seems like there's just so few, going in the first round in mocks. I don't know. I guess
You
you can
know,
find some real nice value in the second round at cornerback too.
yeah, there's gonna be this year. Wide receiver and corner to me are fairly deep. I mean, you're getting really good role players early on in their career in the second, third rounds this year at those positions. Last year in the draft, though, I mean, we look at the Terrell, the Arnett. I don't have them. If I stack them up against what we have on our podcast tonight, they're not top 5.
Yeah.
And I like Terrell. I still think he's got a chance. But I don't think he's better than the guys we've talked about. Arnett, a lot of people said he was a reach, and I like him too. Ohio State produced some good corners, but I don't think he's as good as the guys we've talked about tonight. Noah, I don't think he's as good as the guys we talked about tonight. I think Gladney is the only other guy there in that first round that would have made the argument for me to be spoken of with these guys, and he would have been more at my 5 range tonight.
Yeah,
Obviously, throwing Okudah and Henderson in there would push him back to the 7-8 range.
yeah.
But yeah, I think all 5, 6 of the guys we've talked about tonight are going to be potentially better players in the NFL than the guys that went first round last year.
Yeah. I think Terrell would have snuck in probably at 5.
You would have snuck him in at 5 tonight
Yeah.
if we added Okudah and Henderson.
Oh, if we added Acuna and Henderson, no.
Yeah, see, so I'm saying like that gives me 7 guys, and then those other guys are falling 8 or 9.
Yeah. I'm just saying that he would be top 5 without the other guys from last year if you just compared him to this year's class. But it's a good class this year that's, I don't know, they're not getting any love, not getting any respect. I mean, we didn't give any love to Greg Newsome the second.
Yeah, and I for me, I just there's a few red flags on him, and I've got to do some more homework before I spread the love, because I take a lot of pride in saying I like this guy or don't like that guy. You and I actually were texting back and forth earlier today about maybe trying to show some people some of the guys that we've talked about the last few years among our circle of guys that went later than they probably should have, but where people said they would go and way overperform.
Yeah.
That's my big bragging rights at all times. Like, hey, I talked about that guy a year before he went drafted in the 5th or 6th round, and then he made an all-pro team in the second year in the league.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my number one guy still isn't getting any kind of a chance, but
you are loving that guy.
I love Tyree Jackson, and I always will. He's a star.
I used to really focus on who were the Colts gonna take. And then more and more people started asking me about my general overall, opinion on all of it. And so I'd always go into the draft and I'd have this list of guys I wanted the Colts to take each round. if there was nobody I wanted to trade back. And every year, it seemed like every year for, oh man, almost a decade, I'd have about 4 rounds where the guy I wanted was still there.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't take him. And then that guy went on to be, spoken of in the Rookie of the Year voting, or he made a Pro Bowl the next year. And I'm like, oh, I wanted you to take him in the 4th last year, and they took him in the 5th. And obviously, if you can take a guy in the 4th and he makes the Pro Bowl in his second year, that was a heck of a pick. One of the ones that used to kill me is I always wanted them to change their running backs up the last few years before Mac and whatnot. I was like, I want this guy, I want that guy, and I'll talk about it more in an article here soon. But I always nailed those guys for the Colts for their system. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see how things go this year. And honestly, we've talked about it a little bit. This year is going to be a little different. See how COVID goes, these pro days, all these 4-3 unofficial 40 times with coaches running stopwatches.
Yeah, true, but those guys look fast. You look fast
A couple
enough.
of them look really slow to me, and I'm like, who was I? I can't even remember now. I watched so many different 40s today. I actually got my phone out what was on TV, and I timed him, and he ran like a 4.48 and a 4.52. It was Jamar. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it might have been Jamar Chase.
Hmm.
And I was like, he doesn't look that fast, and he looks really slow out of the blocks. It's almost like they didn't start it until he actually got upright. But either way, I mean, don't get me wrong, Jamar Chase is a beast. But I just don't trust the pro day times. Even this year without the combine, I liked what Brandon Marshall, the ex-receiver, did with the House of Athlete 40, where at his combine they brought in the same testing company that runs the 40 time at the combine. So I would have liked to see more players go there where it was actually managed the same way. Those numbers and those results to me are more precise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, we'll see.
One corner, Jonah, that you think somebody will take a swing on late in the draft that, nobody's talking about. We're not saying he's going to be a superstar, but you want to see get an opportunity if you have one that you've noticed or thought about recently.
Yeah, kind of my sleeper at corner is I like Shakur Brown out of Michigan State. Yeah, he played, had a really good year this year there, 5 picks at Michigan State, 52.4 passer rating against him. He really was pretty much a shutdown corner this year. He's 5'11", which again, I say Mike Zimmer says 5'10" or taller, and Mike Zimmer knows a lot about defense, so 5'11" is tall enough for him. It's tall enough for me. Really high coverage grade this year, and actually played pretty decent against the run as well. I think he's someone who's, where is he projected? I don't know, maybe 4th, 5th round, probably.
Yeah, it depends on who you're looking at. Some people have him in the 6th.
That's true. Rankings are all over the place, but he's a guy who's not. There's not a lot of people talking about Shakur Brown. I don't think so. He's kind of one of my guys I like, who's definitely undervalued in my opinion.
Yeah, I haven't seen as much film on Brown. Michigan State, for some reason, keeps eluding me in all my film unless I need to go search it out more. Don't get me wrong, I'm not Kirk hesitating here. But I have read a decent amount about him. I've looked at some of the highlights, but I don't want to be one of those analysts or scouts that falls into the trap of only watching the highlight tapes. Because everyone looks good in their highlight tapes.
They sure do.
And I always love when I talk to them, like, well, have you watched his highlights? Yeah, but have you watched all the non-highlights where he makes the wrong read or he misses a tackle? Because that's what we're looking for. Honestly, one guy that just stood out to me was after the BYU Pro Day recently, was Wilcox, the corner there. And I've started to do a little bit more homework on him, but he ran a 4.340. And the speed cannot be overlooked in today's NFL.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that this guy's a steal. I'm not saying that he is, the next big thing that comes out of the 6th or 7th round. But I could see a team giving him an opportunity late in the draft, or even, pick him up pretty early in the undrafted free agent time period there. And he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's a little upset, in the interview when we talk to him. He's got a little bit of a chip, a little bit of angst to him, and I like that. I like a corner who wants to prove himself.
the one of the offensive linemen I interviewed a couple of years ago when I was at the combine really seemed to have a big chip on his shoulder, and I was like, oh yeah, I like this because, well, it's because I said San Diego State was a smaller school, um, and I just meant it's not in a Power Five conference, but it's not. I
He
mean,
took
again,
it to heart, did he?
he was like, yeah, we win like 10 games every year, win bowls. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just.
Whoa. Yeah, I like that. I like players that have something to play for outside of a paycheck.
Yeah.
And he just kind of caught my attention. And the speed, you start manning up nowadays or playing certain teams, you need it. For me, my perfect corner room, even if I run a zone system, I want to carry 6 corners into game day. A lot of teams only carry 5, but at least have a safety / corner. 6
Yeah.
guys line up a corner. I want 2 of them that can run. Like, I mean, I'm talking run, and not many corners can keep up with wideouts. And these 2 that can run don't have to even be my 2 best corners. I just want 2 that can flat out run. I do want 2 corners that eclipse that 6-foot mark. You know, I'm not saying they have to be, but I want 2 of my 6 to be 6 foot, and that could be a 6'2" guy that runs lights out. I don't care. But what I want is I want the availability to be able to move my players around like a chessboard. And I might have a corner who's not very great in man coverage or might not be very fast. But if it's 3rd and goal at the 4, and I've got the other team has a 6'4" receiver, I want my 6'2" corner on him, not my 5'9" corner on him. But if I'm playing the Chiefs, and every now and then you want to show a different look, I don't even care if they know I'm showing man if I put my 2 fastest corners on the field. I want 2 guys that can run with Hardman and Hill. And they don't have to be the best, but they actually can't let them get over the top of them. Yeah. Well, if all your corners are the same speed, they're going to get over the top. You have to play 2 deep safety. You can't go 1 deep safety against those guys because both sides of the field are lights out. And so there's a lot of thought for me that goes into my perfect roster. It's heights, it's speeds, it's play types. And I'm one of the guys on defense that loves to see an alternating defense, kind of like the Niners did with Saleh when they put their system together finally. It wasn't just your 4 defensive linemen. The nobodies are getting in there and playing hard and earning names and reputations, like DJ Jones, Kerry Hyder this year, stepping in with injuries. Like, they have depth and they can all play, but they're not all superstars, but they all fit an exact role.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Wilcox could be that guy.
Yeah. And a couple more guys getting into like that, because Shakur Brown could go, I don't know, 4th, 5th, maybe. But if we're really looking at possible 6, 7 / undrafted guys, Shamar Jean Charles, Appalachian State. I like
your small school guys. Oh, sorry, Jinx.
I do love my small school guys. I went to school at Idaho. I mean, I remember playing Appalachian State, so, but small school dominant, I think very interesting. And then Zeke McPherson out of Texas Tech, another guy. I need to watch more on him to do a full write-up, but they're guys who have caught my eye, who are low-rated cornerbacks, so.
One of the things that's kind of hurting us, in my opinion, this year is we got a late start. You've been writing for the other site and doing what you do there, but we decided to launch our site here right before the draft, and we said, let's get some traction going. Let's get a little bit of attention, and next year we'll be full bore. So some of the guys I'm missing on right now, I haven't spent the time getting as deep as I should. And I want to ask you, you're pretty quick on your keyboard. Tennessee has a defensive back, Thompson.
Let me try and find him.
Is it Bryce?
You're not talking about Tariq Thompson.
No, it's Bryce Thompson out of the University of Tennessee. And I believe he is entering the draft this year. And I just want to make sure before I bring him up. I don't want to say something
not positive.
Okay. Well, I've got him pulled up. He's definitely the guy I'm talking about. He's a junior from Tennessee. And on a few of the games I've seen, he's standing out to me. And so I probably should go back and watch some more, just focusing on him. I just keep seeing him in matchups when when we're scouting Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle or whoever it is. They play Tennessee a lot, so I keep seeing him pop up. And he's got a decent amount of potential to me. But I haven't really seen his name in a lot of the conversation around the draft, but I think he did declare. And if he did, he's another one of those guys for me that might be a little bit later that I like the film on.
Yeah, it looks like he did declare. It is, I know this, I mean, this year, it's kind of
Yes,
tough to tell, like, this guy said he declared 3 months ago, and then
he did.
last week said, nah,
Well, we
that's,
thought Reed
yeah,
Blankenship declared too, and
exactly.
then when
Because well,
it
he
still
did.
showed him on the NFL website, but then on his Instagram it said otherwise, so we pulled him off
Yeah,
our site.
he declared and then undeclared. So with this year, with COVID, with the different kind of rules due to that, it can be a little tougher to keep track of everyone because,
Yeah,
as I said, Reed Blankenship did declare a
and
few months
I
ago,
wrote a big article
and
on him.
and then he undeclared, and so he's going
So,
back to school. So I guess next year, look out for Reed Blankenship.
so I'm seeing Thompson declared as well. Like I said, I haven't really actually gone and watched, just focused on him, but he keeps popping up to me and being a game player, a game changer, and a playmaker. And he did declare. I found it here. This kid holds the school record for interceptions, or tied for it with 8 other players. He has 8 career picks. He has 10 turnovers, 19 passes defended, 100. And when I'm watching the film, I'm not watching for him, but these are the guys that really catch my eye. I'm
Yeah,
not watching for him, but you can't help but notice him.
yeah, no, it looks like he's had at least a couple good years of solid coverage football. Um, just based on a real brief overview of him. So yeah,
Well, and at
he's
first I thought
someone.
maybe he played safety too. I think they line him up a little bit all over the place. And
Mm,
so now, after just bringing him up to you, I'm really intrigued to go watch some film on him. And, I will watch about every snap he's played this year tonight after we get off our recording.
sounds good. Yeah, I've got a lot of film to watch too, and yeah, it's tough trying to do it all in a month, but we're doing our best.
Yeah. And for those of you out there that are watching tonight, I mean, Joan and I have taken the time. We're going to try to revamp the site a little bit, I think.
Hmm.
We're starting to listen to some people that might be able to teach us a little more about the keyboard and the computer than we know.
That's a
Uh,
lot of people who can teach us more.
I
I
think
mean,
my
that's
cat's
most
more
people, I
efficient when it
think.
walks
Yeah.
across my keyboard.
I'm just proud I can build a website that's on the internet and post articles. I'm like, hey, see, it's there. And that's good enough for me. So, yeah, a little more knowledge is definitely needed.
If you're watching, go check out the Instagram page, draft_dive. And then, Jonah, what's the Twitter handle?
I think it's just Draft Dive. I'll be honest, I haven't. It must just be a Draft Dive. Let me
You
pull
were
up
talking
Twitter
to
real
two guys
quick.
who focus on football, not technology.
Yeah, just at Draft Dive. Yeah, and we've had, a little interaction with a couple players on there. A couple of our sleepers are happy that we're shining the spotlight on them. They
Well, I'm just
deserve
going
it.
to say their names. I think
Oh yeah,
DeMonte Coxie was one of them, right?
yeah, that
Darius
guy.
Hutcherson.
Yeah, just two of our, I would say two of our best sleepers. It's like, what's everyone else watching where they don't fall in love with these guys? Because
We we've had a couple NFL players like a few things that we've done as well. So we're just excited to keep it going, and we look forward to bringing you guys more and more content and better quality content as time goes on.
yep. So yeah, we'll be back again with another positional ranking. Who knows what it'll be? Because I
I
think
have
we're a
one
couple. Oh, go
one
ahead.
personal question for you, really quick.
Yeah,
Am I allowed to drink beer on a YouTube station?
great question.
I
I
left it on the
don't
side
know.
of the table the whole time just in case.
That's a great question. I think you can, but again, my knowledge of YouTube is very low. I mean, I kind of know Twitter, kind of, and YouTube is new. I just try and upload videos that people want to watch.
Okay. Well, I will let you have a good night, and let's try to get together and do another one soon.
Yeah, another
Um,
position group.
Yep, and keep an eye on the website, guys. I think Joe and I are going to focus on a mock draft 2.0 now that free agency's over, including the Niners trade, obviously. And we're trying to decide whether we want to do what teams should do or what teams are gonna do, because that is two completely different things. We all think we're really knowledgeable and know everything there is, but I think any one of us out there could probably draft better than the Lions for the past decade. So maybe they should start listening to some of our podcasts.
I absolutely could run the Lions front office. There's no doubt about that. But I
I
think
think
they
I could
did
take
get
my high school team there and perform.
they did get Spielman's brother. I think that was the guy. It's Spielman. I talked about Detroit's front office a little, or maybe we just talked about it because I was talking about how I think they're going to take a linebacker. It's because his Spielman's brother was a linebacker, and hey, he's Spielman's brother, and Spielman's. Again, maybe I'm a little biased, but actually, most Vikings fans seem to hate Spielman, which I don't know. I'm all right getting all these Pro Bowlers in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounds. I'm okay with that. So I'm a pretty big fan of his drafting. So maybe he's got the genetics up here that they can actually get some quality players. Yeah,
you're a Vikings guy. What round was Hunter drafted in?
Fourth. Exactly.
Still, right?
Actually, maybe third.
Okay, either way, he was somebody that I remember talking about pretty highly of, and they took him away.
If he's probably the best young pass rusher in the game, he's clearly a top 2 or 3 pick in that draft if you know what he's going to develop into.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, getting him in the third round is pretty silly.
I thought last year with all your guys' picks, you guys knocked out of the park. You had a depth all over the team, which you needed to do after all the people you moved on from. And I'm not going to back away from my claim that Cam Dantzler was one of the steals of the draft last year. And I hope we can go back and play this video in 2 years and people will go, what are you talking about? Be like, well, they were talking about Cam Dantzler because I had Cam Dantzler just outside of my top 5 last year. Yeah. I thought he was more of a zone guy.
He's a scrappy.
Wow, was he a good zone guy?
He's a scrappy corner. He got some bad penalties called against him. If we're going to talk about every time he rushed up against a receiver, if he was going for the ball, it was pass interference, and it didn't. But he looks pretty good. So
I think with a healthier defense and having Barr back and all the pieces in place, a pass rush with Hunter healthy, the addition of somebody like Dalvin Tomlinson. DJ Wanham's probably going to step out of his shadow and be a little better this year.
Michael Pierce coming and playing in the middle too.
Wanham can step it up because there's more people there. Hunter.
We always hope, and we're always disappointed. That's the life of a Vikings fan.
Well, I'm a Colts fan, so I'm not too far behind you.
Yeah, but yeah, we should wrap it up here. Anything else?
No, I think we'll just call it a night, and we'll try to get another one in here soon, guys.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks again for watching. Check out the YouTube channel for other videos, other rankings of positions, and
we also have some pro days and whatnot on there.
Yeah, trying to get as much pro day stuff up as I can. Takes the computer a little bit. I'm not, don't have a super fancy computer, so. But
I wonder what he's watching to slow his computer down.
I know. Who can guess?
Cat videos.
Yep. My cat was in half of this video. So yeah. Thanks again, and stay safe.